those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Diddy will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
could Sean Diddy Combs really be walking out of jail soon? That's the shocking theory making waves right now. And if true, it could completely turn the narrative surrounding the music mogul's ongoing legal battles on its head. After months of accusations, jaw-dropping revelations, and a mountain of lawsuits piling up against him, rumors are swirling that Diddy's legal team has found a way to secure his release. The question is, how? And what does this mean for the man whose once untouchable empire now hangs by a thread?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded crazy. Like I said before, they said that 2,300 people reached out to the law firm. And out of the 2,300 people, I guess they decided to go with just a little over 100, which seems like it's they just put out the number and everybody's calling to see if they can get a check.
It's insane. It's insane. Now, again, he did say that nothing has been filed yet because he says he wants to make sure that they do their due diligence and get this right.
Let's dive into the theory that has everyone talking. According to whispers from insiders, Diddy's lawyers have been working overtime behind the scenes, dissecting every move made by the FBI during its investigation of the musician. The theory suggests they've uncovered a serious misstep, a legal loophole, if you will, that could throw a wrench into the entire case. This supposed mishandling of evidence may not only lead to Diddy's release on bail, but could also jeopardize key elements of the prosecution's case against him. And let's be clear, if this theory holds any weight, it would be a monumental twist in what is already one of the most talked about celebrity scandals in recent history.
Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentaries and TV hits.
The alleged loophole stems from claims that federal investigators overstepped their boundaries during their investigation. You might remember the controversial raid on Diddy's jail cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn back in late 2024. His legal team has been adamant that this search wasn't just invasive, it was flat out unlawful. They're arguing that the raid, which resulted in the seizure of private materials, was orchestrated by prosecutors specifically to gain an edge in his upcoming trial. According to Diddy's lawyers, those materials were not only privileged, but also essential to his defense. The legal team claims this blatant disregard for attorney-client confidentiality violates basic constitutional rights, and they're using this as leverage to challenge the validity of the evidence gathered during the raid.
Afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, their legal documents, the government's saying no. On the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar. And
if you're wondering how serious these allegations are, consider this. Diddy's lawyers have accused the Southern District of New York prosecutors of deliberately directing the raid. They've even gone as far as to say that meetings were held between prison officials and federal agencies to greenlight the operation. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. They claim it was a calculated move designed to undermine his defense. And here's the kicker. They say supervisors from the prosecution team signed off on it, making them directly complicit. The legal implications of such accusations are enormous. If the court finds any truth to these claims, it could invalidate a significant portion of the evidence collected against Diddy, potentially crippling the case before it even goes to trial. But that's not the only factor fueling speculation about Diddy's possible release. Rumors are circulating that his team has been pushing hard for bail, submitting new arguments that highlight the alleged misconduct during the investigation. They've reportedly painted a picture of a flawed process riddled with overreach and procedural errors. And while securing bail for someone facing charges as serious as Diddy's is no small feat, these claims of investigative misconduct could sway a judge to reconsider. After all, if the prosecution's actions are deemed questionable, it's only fair to grant the accused the benefit of the doubt, at least until a trial can properly weigh the evidence.
We're monitoring another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
Of course, there's also the elephant in the room, the chatter about Diddy potentially taking matters into his own hands if he's released. Speculation is rampant that the mogul might be planning to flee the country, evading the legal storm entirely. Sources close to the situation have hinted that Diddy has been exploring his options, should things take a turn for the worse. And let's not forget, this is a man with substantial resources, global connections, and a history of navigating high-stakes situations. If anyone could pull off a high-profile escape, it's him.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
But where would he go? That's the million-dollar question, and theories abound. Some suggest he might head to a country without an extradition treaty, with the United States a safe haven where he could lay low until the enemies calm down. Others speculate he could retreat to one of his many properties overseas, using his wealth and influence to maintain a low profile. It's a tantalizing scenario, but it also raises serious questions about what such a move would mean for his legacy. Would fleeing confirm guilt in the eyes of the public, or would it be seen as a desperate attempt to escape a flawed system? Adding fuel to the fire are reports that Diddy's legal team is well aware of these rumors and is working to counteract them. They've been vocal about their client's willingness to face the charges head-on, emphasizing his cooperation with authorities and his insistence on clearing his name. In court filings, they've argued that Diddy is no flight risk, pointing to his deep ties to the community and his decades-long career as evidence of his commitment to staying and fighting for his reputation. Still, the rumors persist, and they add another layer of intrigue to an already complex case.
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
It's also worth noting how these developments are playing out in the court of public opinion. Diddy's lawyers are not just fighting a legal battle. They're waging a war on perception. They've been working tirelessly to shift the narrative, portraying their client as a victim of a system that has overstepped its bounds. They've accused the media of sensationalizing the allegations against him, poisoning the jury pool before the trial has even begun. And they've taken aim at the prosecution, accusing them of targeting Diddy not because of the evidence, but because of who he is, a high-profile figure whose downfall would make headlines around the world.
The public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
The stakes couldn't be higher. On one hand, Diddy's release could signal a turning point in his legal saga, giving him a chance to regroup and mount a stronger defense. On the other hand, it could open the floodgates for even more speculation, fueling the narrative that he's a man on the run, whether literally or figuratively. Either way, it's clear that this story is far from over. The question now is not just whether Diddy will walk free, but what happens next if he does? Will this alleged loophole be enough to dismantle the charges against him, or is it simply a temporary reprieve in a case that's destined to go to trial? As the rumors swirl and the legal maneuvering continues, one thing is certain: the world will be watching. Diddy's case has become a lightning rod for debates about celebrity justice, investigative ethics, and the power dynamics at play in high-profile cases. And with so much on the line, not just for Diddy, but for everyone involved, the next chapter in this saga promises to be just as explosive as the last.
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male sex workers across state lines to take part in recorded sexual performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
This brings us to the broader question of how Diddy arrived at this point and what steps his legal team is taking to defend him against the mountain of allegations he's facing. His potential release may be the headline of the moment, but it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. To truly understand the stakes, we need to delve into the lawsuits, the accusations, and the strategies that have defined this case from the beginning. So, if you thought the possibility of Diddy walking out of jail was wild, you're not ready for the tangled web of lawsuits, shocking claims, and counterattacks surrounding him. This isn't just a legal battle, it's a full-blown war. And while whispers of his release are making headlines, the truth is, even if he steps outside those prison gates, Diddy's troubles are far from over. To understand the sheer magnitude of what's happening, we need to rewind and look at how one of the most iconic figures in music found himself at the center of one of the most jaw-dropping scandals in entertainment history. Diddy wasn't just a star, he was a cultural force. His journey from rising producer to a household name was the stuff of legends. Bad Boy Records, his brainchild, wasn't just a label, it was a movement. He shaped the careers of some of the biggest names in music, from the Notorious B.I.G. to Mary J. Blige. His influence stretched far beyond music into fashion, television, and business. For decades, he was untouchable, celebrated for his hustle, charm, and ability to reinvent himself. But as they say, the higher you climb, the harder you fall, and Diddy's fall has been nothing short of catastrophic.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The first major crack in his seemingly indestructible empire came in November 2023, and it hit like a tsunami. Cassie Ventura, the former protege turned partner who had been by Diddy's side for over a Bettiger turned partner who had been by Diddy's side for over a decade, filed a lawsuit against him that sent shockwaves through the industry. Cassie's claims were graphic, to say the least, painting a picture of a toxic and manipulative relationship that left her scarred in more ways than one. She described a world of excess and control, one where she was allegedly coerced into participating in highly orchestrated events and subjected to physical harm on multiple occasions. If that wasn't enough, she alleged that Diddy's behavior extended far beyond their relationship, accusing him of orchestrating elaborate gatherings that were as controversial as they were disturbing.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
Cassie's lawsuit didn't just open the floodgates. It unleashed a tidal wave. In the weeks that followed, more accusations began to surface, each one more shocking than the last. Women came forward with claims stretching back decades, adding layers of complexity to an already chaotic situation. One anonymous accuser alleged that she had been taken advantage of in the early 1990s, while another claimed she had been forced into situations that she never consented to. The sheer volume of allegations made it clear that this wasn't going to be a simple case of one person's word against another. It was shaping up to be a battle for Diddy's entire legacy. And it didn't stop there. By December 2023, yet another bombshell dropped. A lawsuit was filed claiming that Diddy, along with two associates, had crossed the line with a minor back in 2003. The accusations were chilling and added yet another layer to the narrative that was beginning to emerge. Diddy, of course, vehemently denied the claims, calling them baseless and sensationalized. But the damage to his reputation was already done. The media frenzy was relentless, with every new lawsuit adding fuel to the fire. And while Diddy's team worked tirelessly to counter the allegations, the sheer weight of the claims threatened to overshadow anything they said.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Say that again. Back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is
yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood. But one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of.
As if the lawsuits weren't enough, the release of video footage in May 2024 added even more drama to an already explosive situation. The footage, captured in 2016, showed Diddy in a heated altercation with Cassie in a hotel hallway. The video wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. In it, he was seen pushing her to the ground, kicking her, and throwing an object in her direction. The public reaction was swift and brutal. While Diddy issued a statement taking responsibility for his actions, calling it his rock bottom, the damage was done. Cassie followed up with her own statement, describing the lifelong impact of what she endured. The video became a symbol of everything that had been alleged against him, cementing his downfall in the eyes of many.
If they did in fact occur, their argument is more than likely going to be that this activity was consensual, that this person was a willing participant, and not only that, but that these individuals assumed the risk of being present at those parties, of engaging and voluntarily engaging in this conduct and being in those spaces, consuming and things of that nature.
By mid-2024, the lawsuits had reached a staggering number. Each one painted a picture of someone who had allegedly used his power and influence to manipulate those around him. From former employees to ex-partners, the stories were eerily similar, creating a narrative that was hard to ignore. And while Diddy maintained his innocence, his legal team had their work cut out for them. They weren't just fighting accusations, they were fighting a public perception that had already turned against him. But Diddy wasn't about to go down without a fight. In September 2024, he made a bold move, filing a defamation lawsuit against Courtney Burgess, a witness in the case, and his lawyer, Ariel Mitchell. Diddy accused them of fabricating claims about him, including the existence of alleged tapes that supposedly implicated him in inappropriate acts. His legal team argued that these claims were not only false, but were part of a deliberate effort to tarnish his reputation and influence public opinion. The lawsuit, which sought $50 million in damages, was a clear message. Diddy wasn't going to let his name be dragged through the mud without pushing back.
Diddy is now suing. So according to our friends over at Us Magazine, Diddy, who remains in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center while he awaits trial. Us Weekly writes this. It says Sean Diddy Combs has filed a defamation lawsuit against one of his accusers, their attorney, and News Nation.
The defamation suit also highlighted another layer of complexity in Diddy's legal saga: the role of the media. Diddy's team argued that platforms like News Nation had recklessly amplified the false claims, further poisoning public perception. They accused the network of failing to verify the accuracy of the allegations before broadcasting them, contributing to the media frenzy that had engulfed the case. It was a strategy designed to not only protect Diddy's reputation, but also to challenge the way the narrative around him had been shaped. Of course, the defamation suit didn't come without its own controversies. Burgess fired back, claiming he had evidence to back up his claims and accusing Diddy's team of trying to silence him. The back and forth added yet another layer to an already convoluted case, leaving the public to wonder who was telling the truth and who was playing a game of smoke and mirrors.
Because my next guest just testified before a federal grand jury. He says he was in possession of a trove of digital evidence from Diddy's freak-offs and parties.
As the trial date loomed closer, Diddy's legal team appeared to be ramping up their efforts to discredit the allegations against him. They argued that many of the claims were not only exaggerated, but were part of a coordinated effort to extort money from the music mogul. They pointed to the timing of the lawsuits, many of which were filed just before the expiration of certain legal time limits, as evidence of exploitation. They also emphasized Diddy's long-standing philanthropic efforts and his commitment to his family, painting a picture of someone who was far from the monster he was being portrayed as. But despite their best efforts, the road ahead for Diddy looked anything but smooth. With a trial date set for May 2025, the stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Diddy faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. It's a reality that stands in stark contrast to the life he once led, a life filled with luxury, influence, and seemingly endless success. And so, the question remains, can Diddy clear his name, or will this scandal mark the end of an era? With so many moving parts, from the lawsuits to the defamation countersuit to the possibility of new allegations emerging, it's impossible to predict how this story will end. What's clear, however, is that this case has become a cultural flashpoint, raising questions about power, accountability, and the role of the media in shaping public opinion.
News right now on ABC News Live. A judge has denied bail for Sean Diddy Combs. Of course, this was the hip-hop mogul's latest bid for freedom as he remains in federal jail for his racketeering and trafficking case.
As we wait for the next chapter in the saga, one thing is certain: the world will be watching. Whether Diddy walks free or faces a very different future, his case will undoubtedly leave a lasting impact, not just on his legacy, but on the way we think about justice, fame, and the price of power. And with so many unanswered questions, the story of Sean Diddy Combs is far from over. What do you think? Will Diddy emerge from the scandal unscathed, or is this the end of the road for one of music's most iconic figures? Let us know your thoughts and stay tuned, because this story is only just beginning.